All right. So your assignment for the next 2 days is going to be working with your partner to explain and create a collage working with chapter 25, section 1 and 2 for today, section 3 and 4 for tomorrow. So then that way you can, one, draw pictures, Deckard, and number two, you can have words that go along with the idea of what are the key points in chapter 25, section 1 and 2. All right. So like this one, here in a second, we'll get into just a little bit of this for an overview. But the Industrial Revolution, and what they did is right here in the center of it, they did a really good job, which is frozen, so I can't show it to you. So right there, they did a really good job of using like the word industrial, and they tied it with railroad tracks. All right, so they're having an idea of transportation, of movement, of everything else that goes along with it to tie in with the Industrial Revolution. The other thing is going to be urbanization. All right, so there's a small house that's here. It shows the movement from high-rise apartment type deals, skyscraper, urbanization, the growth from outside of farmland into the growth of big cities. We still see that today with the idea of, in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, all the above that are there. Education. All right, so the apple is a good representation of what education looks like. Creating the idea of school. All right, creating the idea of having some place to go for the kids whenever people are working in factories, whenever people are having to go off for their average daily hourly job, and kind of kept the crime down. That was a big thing, but it also promoted the idea of bettering society to the point of where there's contributions that are made. Imperialism. All right, so there's a picture of Britain, the British flag that's right there. Imperialism as it spreads through, the looking for resource, the taking of other lands to continue the resource that's needed to build in the momentum of the Industrial Revolution. The fight the power sign right here kind of goes along with the picketing of better hours, of better pay, of time. The amount of time that was spent, the work action, all that stuff that goes along with the Industrial Revolution was not good. It was kind of like hitting the ground running, kind of like the internet in the beginning, to where they didn't necessarily know everything about the internet, but they knew they needed it, so they just threw it out there. Everybody did the best they could. And now, many years down the road, we're finally starting to look at regulations on the internet. Well, it's the same way with the Industrial Revolution. They go through, and as they begin the Industrial Revolution, the idea of making more and more and more money, they didn't really care who was the worker. They didn't care if it was a 7-year-old child to a 20-year-old woman to somebody else that had a lot of experience through work. The person, if they were sick, they were going to get fired. Okay, I mean, honestly, the next immigrant off the boat was ready to go in and take their place. If someone got injured on the job, there wasn't workers' comp, there wasn't paid leave, there wasn't all this other stuff. It was, kind of just out of luck, and the next person comes in. So they had to fight for the idea of actually protecting the workers rather than that's it, who's up next, and that's all. All right. Thomas the Train, whoever drew this one right here, they use this as a good train drawing for the depiction of transportation and communication speeding up. Women's rights at the tail end of the chapter, it talks about the idea of the growing movement of women's rights. Even the early 1800s, the ending of slavery in Britain, which again will compound the idea that slavery needs to end in the United States in the 1860s. All right, so capitalism, growth in that way, there is an opportunity to capitalize essentially on the growth of the market. Technology right here, pretty cool how this with cursive all the way through to connect. That also goes back to communication. The water wheel could have been the spinning jenny, also the same way. And then you have the idea of factories, canals, man-made waterways to produce faster travel to connect places from point A to point B if a river system was not available. And of course, the stock market. Okay, so all of these are big things that are going to be covered within this section. So let me go back, freeze that one. Let me go back to this one right here, give you a little bit of intro to chapter 25 and just touch on a couple of key points, and then we'll get right into the overall lesson and what we have to do. So the overall part of the Industrial Revolution, of course, it began If it says England, if it says Britain, still talking about the same place. The place across the pond is the big emphasis on this one. It says the Industrial Revolution started in England and soon spread to other countries. The changes that began in Britain paved the way for modern industrial societies. So what we are today. We talked about all these other revolutions: the American Revolution, the French Revolution, Haitian Revolution. Those are all fighting revolutions. The agricultural revolution versus the industrial revolution is a change in society. We went from being producing, again, to the Neolithic revolution. Whether you go from stones to tools to making your own food to having enough food to be able to produce things for those people that have the idle time to, one, buy, and number two, make their life easier. All right. So it's to change the way we would live forever. In the United States, France, and Latin America, political revolutions brought in new governments. A different type of revolution now transformed the way people worked. The Industrial Revolution refers to the great increased output of machine-made items. So who made the items before the machines made the items? People did. Man did. All right. What that's called is cottage industry. All right. If it's small and it's a mom and pop type deal, that's kind of our cottage industry today. But back then it was the tools that you made at your home, your ranch, your farm, that were there to make life easier. If somebody buys a pair of brand new boots that are handmade, custom handmade, if somebody buys a purse that is custom handmade, a belt, so forth, some of those things, are they more or less expensive than something you would normally buy? More. And why is that? Okay, because they're man-made. The amount of time and the hours that are put in have to be worth the output to go back in. They also sell a whole lot less of them because of the time it takes. So therefore, they have to recoup that investment, and you pay more money for that rarity versus the common thing that everybody's going to have. Okay. When you move to the next part from cottage industry, you get to what is called commercial industry. All right. So commercial industry, you think of TV and they have commercials. Yes. What are the commercials there for? What are they trying to do for you? Influence you to buy something, see multiple things that are out there that you may have never thought of, or try to influence you into buying more of and multiple things of that item that's there. All right. So that commercial industry is a mass production of what you have. All right. You're trying to oversell something because you are factory producing many, many things of those. All right. So as you go out with this, understand the difference between cottage industry and commercial industry. And that's kind of what we get to with the Industrial Revolution. All right. Before the Industrial Revolution, people wore textiles by hand. Then machines began to do this and other jobs. Soon the Industrial Revolution spread from England to the continental Europe and North America. All right. So cotton is a big deal. All right. Your t-shirt that you're wearing right now. All right. That's a common thing, but that came because of cash crops. Before that, linen. And you can still hear like somebody has like linen sheets. You know what I mean? So linen was the big producer of textiles back then. And that was the thing that was readily available to everyone before cotton became king because of, honestly, Egypt, and then also going through with the southern part of the United States. Last part, timing was huge. All right. The United States becomes a country 1776. The Industrial Revolution transitions back over to the Americas. Because of the timing of that, all right, I'm going to do one of two things. They were going to have to tax people based upon them starting a brand new country. Well, that's what they ran away from, was taxation without representation. So they didn't want to continue to pay taxes. Either they're still going to be represented better. It's not good to start a brand new deal and say, like, hey, you need to pay triple the amount of money that you should have paid to start this. The Industrial Revolution hit just in the nick of time to that way to spur this huge growth in the Americas, make people want to come over to the Americas and also fund the Americas. All right. So what you're going to do for today's assignment is you're going to take page 717, chapter 25. All right. You and your partner are going to work on section 1 and 2 only to recreate this, the collage that's up there. All right. So take one sheet of computer paper. All right. You're going to create chapter 25, section 1 and 2 on this one. The next day, you'll get another sheet of paper. All right. And you will create section 3 and 4, a collage on there. Both of them will be in titled The Industrial Revolution. Do not just say, Cashin, you're going to do section 1 and 2. Saren, you're going to do section 3 and 4. Okay. Because then you miss the whole boat on doing the other parts of the section. All right. Help each other go through, skim through the section and find the key points of what is there. So then that way you can work together. Maybe one of you is artistic, maybe one of you is not. All right. If you're not artistic, find the stuff within the section that you want the artistic person to put down on there. There's map colors, there's crayons, there's all that good stuff over here. You can use it as you're drawing, so that way you don't have to trace and then re-outline to be able to add color to it. As soon as you walk in here tomorrow, you're not going to have to hear the introduction to the Industrial Revolution. So you can start directly on section 3 and 4. Just get rolling, finish up section 1 and 2, and then you're done. Okay. Friday we'll take the test. Any remaining time that's in class on Friday, you're welcome to do that also. All right. So these will technically be due the Tuesday you come back. All right. The Tuesday you come back to school. Questions? All right. Introduction to Industrial Revolution. Collage, sections 1, 2 today, 3, 4 tomorrow. If you need anything, it's up here or right here. If you need to ask questions, feel free to. All right. That's it.